Party. Your thoughts? And government borrowing has increased massively. A simple question: how worried about this should we be? And us women are apparently not having enough babies. So how do we incentivise more baby making then? Donald Trump is suggesting payments of $3,000. Should we follow suit? Well, we've got all of that and more. And alongside me tonight, my panel, Baroness Jacqueline Foster, the Tory peer and former MEP, and Aaron Bastani, the founder of Novara Media. But before we get stuck in, let's cross live and give you your 6 o'clock news headlines.
Michelle, thank you very much and good evening. The top stories: intergang rivalries have led to an alarming rise in migrant violence, as 8 illegal immigrants have arrived in the UK with stab wounds in the last 12 months. The tensions come as thousands of migrants prepare for a huge summer surge in small boat crossings. Just this week, 1 migrant was stabbed to death and 2 others seriously injured in separate incidents around Calais. One senior maritime security source told GBNews the increase in violence is extremely concerning. The Prime Minister has accused Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch of being a spectator, not a leader, on women's rights this afternoon, before saying it was time to lower the temperature on the trans debate. It follows a Supreme Court ruling defining a woman as an adult human female based on biological sex. The Prime Minister, who once said trans women are women, now says the ruling brings clarity. This afternoon, Badenoch urged him to apologise to ex-Labour MP Rosie Duffield, calling her very brave for speaking out before leaving the party.
Tells people what they want to hear. He only tells people what they want to hear. He is a weather vane who twists in the wind. He cheered an ideology that denied safe spaces to women and girls because he thought it was cool to do so. He hounded a brave female MP out of his party for telling the truth he accepts now. And now he is hiding behind the Supreme Court judgment. And isn't that because he doesn't know what he actually believes?
Elsewhere, more than 150 people have been injured following a 6.2 magnitude earthquake in Istanbul. People evacuated buildings as the quake hit the city and gathered in parks, whilst others sat on doorsteps in the centre of the city as aftershocks continued to be felt. Istanbul's transport minister said 1 abandoned building collapsed in central Istanbul, but nobody was hurt there, while there was no damage to energy or water infrastructure in the city of 16 million people. President Erdogan says he's monitoring the situation, and his office issued advice on what people should do in the case of further quakes. In other news, Pope Francis' coffin has been transferred today to St. Peter's Basilica in state ahead of his funeral on Saturday. The coffin departed from the chapel of the Casa Santa Marta and proceeded through Santa Marta Square and the square of the Roman proto-martyrs, entering the basilica through the central door. Prince William will attend the funeral on Saturday, marking his first time representing the monarch at a global funeral. He'll be joined by world leaders, including the Prime Minister and the US President. If you're watching us on television now, you're seeing live pictures from inside St. Peter's Basilica, where mourners are gathering as the Vatican expects up to 250,000 mourners at the service for the People's Pope. In other news, a deal to resolve the bin strike in Birmingham could be in touching distance, according to the Unite union. The action by members of Unite, which began on the 11th of March as part of a dispute over pay, has seen thousands of tonnes of rubbish go uncollected and warnings of a public health emergency in the city. Talks to end the strike are to involve the conciliation service ACAS for the first time, signalling that an agreement could be close. Elsewhere, the UK government's borrowing soared to almost £152 billion last year, the second highest in a decade. New ONS figures reveal that's £14.6 billion more than predicted, piling the pressure on already stretched public finances. Economists say the country ended the year on a poor footing, whilst now hurtling towards further challenges with US President Donald Trump's trade tariffs. Chair of the Labour Party, Ellie Reeves, reiterated that we are set to be the fastest growing European economy in the G7.
We've set out our fiscal rules and we are absolutely steadfastly committed to those. We had the spring statement just a few weeks ago. We'll have a budget in the autumn. But I think most people would recognise that we are in very different economic circumstances than we were even when we came into government in July.
Police officers who fail background checks will automatically be sacked under new rules aimed at restoring public trust in policing. The changes will become law from the 14th of May, making it mandatory for serving officers to pass vetting procedures. It follows mounting pressure from Met Police Chief Sir Mark Rowley to fix the glaring gap. He went on to say it was absurd that unfit officers could keep their jobs. The reforms come after a Met Police officer accused of sexual offences had his vetting removed, but won a legal challenge to stay in his post. Home Secretary Yvette Cooper says the changes are essential to rebuild confidence in the force. GB News spoke to Minister of State for Crime, Police and Fire, Dame Diana Johnson, earlier about the reforms.
This should have been done far sooner. When Labour came in last July, we made very clear, the Home Secretary in October set out a whole series of steps to improve standards within policing. This is one measure. There are other measures that we will be bringing in the next few months, including strengthening the requirements around suspending officers.
And a big happy birthday to Prince Louis. His Royal Highness turned 7 years old today, and this new video of him has been released. Let's take a look.
I can jump down from here.
And a big happy birthday from GB News. It's back to Michelle.
Thank you very much for that, Tatiana. Do you know, I've got a real soft spot for that young lad. I don't know what it is about Prince Louis, but I really like him. I think he's a real cheeky little chap and he seems to have so much character in him, doesn't he? I really like that. So, yeah, big happy birthday to him. I am Michelle Dewberry. This is Dewbs & Co with you till 7 o'clock tonight. Alongside me, my panel, I've got Baroness Jacqueline Foster, the Tory peer and former MEP, alongside Aaron Bastani, the founder of Novara Media. Good evening to both of you. You're very welcome tonight. As are each and every single one of you as well, what's on your mind tonight, ladies and gents? Join the conversation all the usual ways. You can email me. You know all this by now, don't you? gbviews@gbnews.com. Go to the website, gbnews.com/yoursay. Of course, you can tweet and you can X me. So it is St George's Day if you've been up to anything. Send me some pictures if you want. You can join in the conversation tonight. I'll share some in just a couple of minutes, but before I get on to that, I do just want to say, Kemi Badenoch, though, just reflecting on it in the headlines there, she didn't half give Keir Starmer a bit of a kick in today in PMQs, didn't she?
She certainly did. She pretty well annihilated him. And his reaction was not happy at all. Very thin-skinned, very, as I said, very unhappy about it, and turned a complete volte-face with the rest of the Labour Party, frankly.
It's really interesting, isn't it, how all of a sudden all of these people in political and public life, all of a sudden they knew all along. Ladies and gents, they always knew what a woman was, apparently, and they always did believe in safe spaces for biological women. Goodness gracious me, I bet many of those people will have whiplash at the speed at which they have turned around, I can tell you. But anyway, look, let's get back then, shall we, to St George's Day. Some of you have already started sending me your pictures. I like it. Let me have a little look. This is Phil. You've sent me your flag outside of your house. Very nice. Tony, let's have a little gander at your kitchen in Leeds. That's nice. And I like those chairs as well. You know those chairs where they've got the little pull things at the back? It's like a door knocker on the back of the chairs, isn't it? Well, anyway, I like that. You've got your dog in there as well. Very nice. And Carrie, look at this. No messing around, apparently. Got your flag up all year round. Matthew as well. Look, let me see, Matthew. What's going on there? That's not your house, is it? I don't think so. I think you're in a pub. But I like it. Should we do one more? Is that the pub? Was that the pub in Grimsby? I think it was, actually. I think I missed a couple there. Sorry about that. That was the pub in Grimsby. Look, the reason that we show you this flag is Keir Starmer, of course, speaking out today about the flag. He had an address at Downing Street. Let's take a listen to some of the things that he was saying.
There are people trying to sow division in our communities. People taking the red and white of our flag, but they want to take it with them as they throw bricks at businesses and our police. The day after the terrible Southport incident last year, we could see in the aftermath of that what it really is to be English.
What was with that weird music playing over the top of it? Anyway, what do you think about him saying that we need to reclaim our flag then from the racists?
Well, there's been an enormous conversion by the left in politics, I see. We all know, I think most of us who are old enough remember that our flag was hijacked 3 or 4 decades ago. We had some football thugs. They caused problems abroad and they behaved very badly, but nevertheless, the left basically in politics then went on to say, basically blackball anyone who was using this flag at all. So people, you know, managed to fly it in their villages or whatever. They were immediately sort of sanctioned. I remember very, very clearly Emily Thornberry, that well-known Labour member of Parliament, I think it was during an election time, and she sneered. She was she was in a road with houses, and there was a nice English flag, and
it's this lot.
Sneered about that. There we are.
This was the tweet.
That was White Van Man, and she actually really personified the thinking in the Labour Party. So they have had appear to have a complete conversion, but I wouldn't hold my breath, frankly. Words don't mean a great deal. As for the rest of us, yes, we're very proud of our flag. When we have friends who have fly their Welsh flag or Scottish flag or Irish flag, we celebrate that. But still these days, there are those in this country and they sneer as soon as anybody takes out their English flag and has the audacity to actually fly it. So good on everybody and happy St George's Day.
Hear, hear to that. Aaron Bastani?
It should be a bank holiday.
Yes.
People say celebrate, happy, blah, blah. Great, I agree. It needs to be a bank holiday. I would love to have been, well, because I'm coming to a wonderful show. But it'd be great, you know, it's the right time of the year. You've just had the Easter bank holiday, sit in a pub for 4 hours, have a few beers. That would be fabulous. Should be a bank holiday, I think. Yeah,
but then there'll be a lot of people shouting at the screens. Of course, if you're an employee, then most people will be yes, 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 give us an extra bank holiday. But actually, bank holidays have quite a big cost to the public purse, depending on which calculation you look at. But it could be there or thereabouts, a couple of £1 billion. Some people say that you would potentially recoup that, so the jury's out. Do you think it should be a public bank holiday?
Well, not necessarily. I think if you're going to do that, then you're going to have to do it, obviously, for the Scots and for the Welsh, etc. So, you know, we could have bank holidays forever. So that, to me, is not really the point. I mean, that would be quite nice to have, but I don't think it's feasible. I think it's about us being able to openly support our English flag. And people at the moment who are actually walking around the streets, not today, but have been trying to object to some of these horrendous protest marches that have gone on, that have had the audacity to raise the English flag, have ended up, you know, in a police station. So, you know, whatever the Prime Minister happened to say today and yesterday, that's not how the legal system's actually looking at people who actually fly our flag half the time.
David said, Michelle, can you just tell your viewers, well done, guys? He said it was really great to see viewers flying their flags. I think I've got some teddy bears as well. I'll try and get that image up for you as well. But in terms of this notion that Labour are the patriotic party, what do you think to that, Aaron?
Stupid. There's no such thing as a patriotic party or a not patriotic party. And I think, actually, I read Keir Starmer's words before coming on the show. I didn't actually watch that clip you just played. Even today, when people should be coming together, it should be a day of national unity. I think bank holiday, have a drink, whatever, we can disagree about that. But generally having a smile on your face. I'm
always up for a drink, Aaron. You won't ever get me rejecting that. Enjoying
the better weather, right time of year for it. You know, not everything has to be about conflict and division and attacking people. And I think rather, Keir Starmer can't help himself. You know, this is his default. He has to demonise somebody somewhere. So even on St George's Day, he's talking about the people he doesn't like and the people we have to fight and to take on. Just relax. Yeah, but you see, I think that's because it's England and it's the English, and for some reason, the Brits, English people, we seem to be often open season to be attacked, sneered, looked down upon, put down, ridiculed, name-called, you name it. It is, it's like it's fair game to be able to do that. I can't imagine
people saying some of the things that they say about the St George's flag. I just can't imagine them saying it about so many other different flags.
But you're absolutely right. It's a blatant hypocrisy. And this statement I've seen, I don't know who I'm not saying that everybody in the Labour Party or on the left are not patriotic. I'm not saying that at all. But when you listen to some of the things that have been said, the way the public are treated, the reference he even made to Southport. I mean, why on St George's Day is he making a reference to Southport and what happened there? As though those people, and a lot of them were just genuinely very upset, and then there were a proportion of them that behaved very, very badly indeed. But why link that to the English flag? I mean, that's absolutely appalling. Or the far right. I mean, we're all far right, aren't we? And so I'm afraid, you know, they've made a rod for their own back, because it is they in the Labour Party who are the ones that have been vilifying anybody that had the audacity to fly this flag in the first place.
Nigel Farage, he had some words to say actually about that, and I'll play you what he thought about it after the break. Keep your thoughts on this one coming in. We've got lots that we need to discuss. I'll see you in 2.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Gavin, this is very interesting. I don't think I've heard of a king or a queen's Easter message before that mentions other faiths as well as Christianity.
Yes, it would be nice if we could say how wonderful and welcome it with generosity. But the trouble is, it causes more trouble than it helps. The fact is that it's offensive partly to Jews and also to Christians, because this is a Christian festival, and it presupposes there are no differences that are essential between Christianity and Islam. But there are some very real problems. Last year, I think, over 4,000 Christians were killed worldwide by Muslims. And this isn't an isolated thing. This is an ongoing act of antagonism between a faith that follows a warlord and a faith that follows Jesus, and to synthesize them together as though they are equivalent, really. It's a theological mistake, but it's also a mistake of hospitality. The king owes his Christian subjects more than to enter into this fiction, and it's profoundly difficult for anyone who's close to suffering communities.
He talks so much about different faiths and religions. It almost seems as though he doesn't have his own religion. It's almost as though he subscribes to all of these religions. He goes that far. We do know that there was a conversation, wasn't there, about whether he was the defender of the faith or faiths plural, and hints that he was moving towards the faiths plural. I mean, it does seem as though he sort of just wants to be a part of every religion.
I'm afraid that's partly true. We have to do a little bit of theology. Jesus said, "I'm the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father but by me." And the reason for that is no other religion features God as a father. It's a uniquely Christian thing. All religions have things in common and share ethics. But at Easter, he should be saying, this is what's special about Christianity.
GB News, the People's Channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Hello there, Michelle Dewberry, Dewbs & Co. It's all 7, Baroness Jacqueline Foster, Aaron Bastani alongside me. Look, we were just talking about St George's Day before the break. I've told you what Keir Starmer had to say when it comes to being patriotic and, for example, our flag. Let me just play you a clip from Nigel Farage. Take a listen to some of his views.
A lot of those who believed in the European Union, believed in global governance, didn't really believe in us as a country. And by definition, I think they were unpatriotic.
Well, actually, you can watch that full interview on GBN tonight, which comes, of course, at the end of this programme. But look, in a nutshell, Nigel Farage was just suggesting there that Remainers are somewhat unpatriotic. What do you think to that?
Oh, you can't have a sort of blanket ban on Remain. I haven't got a lot of time for Remoaners, as I call them. But I'm not sure that all of them are unpatriotic.
So don't wash with you?
I think they just need to get over the fact that we Brexited and do themselves a favour, frankly.
Aaron Bastan, does it wash with you?
Yeah, I just don't think that kind of rhetoric's very helpful. I mean, Jeremy Clarkson voted Remain. You know, if Nigel Farage wants to call Jeremy Clarkson somebody who's not patriotic, I mean, please go ahead. We're talking about millions upon millions of people. So those kinds of generalisations, I agree, they're not necessarily the most useful things.
Well, you can have the final thought on that one at home. Look, I was trying to bring you this little picture earlier on. I like this. It's cute, isn't it? These are Matthews, little girls, hair bears, George and Robin. I like that. I like it. I do like to see what you're all up to on St George's Day. I'm a bit of a nosy Parker. I must confess, so keep your thoughts coming in. What's this one? A flag above Nick and Sue's allotment. I think I can bring you that imminently. I love an allotment as well. In fact, actually, I can't get that picture yet, but I will get it. I'd love to know how long you was on that waiting list for an allotment. That's not a short thing these days, is it? But look, I'll tell you what's also not short. The amount of money that we are borrowing in this country. Apparently, we've borrowed almost £15 billion more than we anticipated we would do in the last financial year. Rachel Reeves, though, reckons that we live among a changing world. We would expect that she would say those things, but where are you on this borrowing? Are you concerned about it, Jacqueline, or not?
I'm very concerned about it. I'm very concerned about the actions that Rachel Reid has taken in the last 9 months. I'm very concerned that the economy is basically on a knife edge, complaining about what the last government did or what the last government owed or whatever it is. I mean, God, it was nothing compared to what they're doing. She's short of money. And at the same time, she's going to give Ed Miliband $19 billion for carbon capture, $18 billion for us to give away the Chagos Island, which are British territories, another $8 billion for GB Energy, and nobody even knows what that's going to do. She ratcheted up a huge amount of money on public sector pay increases, and then is surprised that now that clearly they've borrowed more than they thought, and obviously, there's another 152 billion, apparently, that we are in debt. So, tip of the iceberg. The fascinating thing is going to be what does she do next, because she has actually guaranteed that there will be no more tax rises during this government term, which we thought, well, thank goodness for that, after national insurance and various other things that she's done, which is hammering business. But it's going to be fascinating, and
I'm not sure I believe
we watch this space with interest.
I'm not sure, but do you believe that in the autumn statement we're going to see no tax rises? I'm not actually sure. I mean, I'd love to be wrong. Absolutely be delighted to be wrong on that one, but we shall see. Aaron Bastani, when it comes to borrowing, your thoughts?
Well, there are going to be tax rises because they're going to freeze various thresholds at which people pay different taxes, income tax,
your fiscal drag.
So that is going to happen. I don't think politically they could introduce brand new taxes, personally. I think they're already cratering. You're seeing some polls, 21, 22%. I think it would be a disaster. I think they're in trouble either way. Here's the number people need to pay attention to. Debt interest payments in 23-24 were £107 billion. That's the debt interest on the national debt. Now, that's very high for a number of reasons. The costs of borrowing are much higher than they historically have been. And, of course, growth is slightly lower. What's changed from, say, 10 years ago is the cost of borrowing. When you have very low interest rates, it's not the end of the world. It's a bit like your mortgage. If you've got a very low interest rate loan, it doesn't matter really if, you have a large loan because your repayment is considerably lower as a result of the interest. What's changed is that those interest rates are now significantly higher, at which we're having to pay that debt back. And that is a really big number. 107 billion just on the debt interest. It went up about 50 billion in 1 year. Now, bear in mind, the policing budget for England and Wales is about 20 billion, right? So all of a sudden, in 1 year, more than double the entire policing budget has been the increase in just debt interest.
Yeah, but what you need to just...
Labour have to get on top of that. It's huge.
You just need to remember 22-23 or 23-24, we spent £500 billion on COVID. And included in that, then, was another 70 billion in the additional energy cost, and obviously money that was given to the taxpayer and to people in this country to try and help them with their bills. So we acknowledge that, but we are now not in COVID, and of course the energy prices are coming down to a degree. So there is no excuse for that debt interest to be, I think, to rise too much further. The reason it will rise is because of the decisions that they have made in the last 9 months and the consequences of what they are determining to do with this economy.
I'll respond to that quickly.
Go on.
Yeah. We've basically been borrowing non-stop since the early 1980s as a country. And now we have two major problems. Growth has basically stopped. It stopped for about 18 years, but now it's genuinely stopped.
No, it hasn't stopped.
On a per capita basis, it has. We've had zero productivity growth for about 18 years. It has, Jacqueline. If you look at UK economic output per capita measured in dollars, it's basically flatline for 18 years. So we've got zero productivity growth. You can import more people and you have economic growth. Of course, you can. Anybody can do that. Very easy. We've also got these rising costs of borrowing. And this is existential. And people I talk to in finance and so on, they're almost surprised that we haven't already had that emergency budget. They're almost already surprised. And in one way, Trump has actually done Reeves a favour because he's made the UK public debt, the pound, more attractive assets and locations than they otherwise would have been, because right now, in the last 3, 4, 5 weeks, people are starting to get concerned with US Treasuries, the dollar and so on. That won't last forever. And I think then the spotlight is back on the UK, back on Rachel Reeves, and there really could be an emergency budget this year. It's not impossible.
Do you think we'd see an emergency budget? What do you think would be in it if we did see one of those? And would it change your opinion of the Labour Party if indeed that is what's happened? Get in touch with me all the usual ways and tell me your thoughts. And look, finally, there you go. I told you when it comes to allotments, there's always a very long wait, isn't there, ladies and gents? Here it is, the allotment that belongs to Nick and Sue. I like that. If you're listening on the radio, well, you can't really see it. It's a very neat and tidy, organised allotment, I've got to say. But of course, pride of place there going right the way along. You've got the St George's flag. I like that. So many of you getting into the swing of this and sending me your flag pictures. Do keep them coming. I'll try and bring in as many as I possibly can. We need to talk after the break about many different things. Let me ask you this. When it comes to declining birth rates, what should we do about it, Donald Trump? He's kind of teasing an idea at the moment. Should we potentially look at paying women to have babies? I don't know, $3,000 is one suggested figure. Your thoughts?
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
An unsettled spell of weather over the next few days across southeastern parts of Europe. Heavy showers and thunderstorms, but elsewhere mostly settled, plenty of sunshine. The odd shower affecting parts of Greece, also the Adriatic coastline. These could be heavy and thundery, but as we shift our way further west, mostly settled thanks to the Azores high, plenty of sunshine, though it just could be quite breezy at times across Madeira and Tenerife. The heavy showers are set to continue into Saturday, but from Sunday, lots of sunshine and feeling warm in that sunshine too.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GBNews Traffic and Travel Report.
Good evening, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. A road traffic accident has closed the A96 in both directions at Huntly. Drivers are advised to find alternative routes. The A19 southbound in North Yorkshire between the A67 and the junction with the A684 is shut due to a vehicle accident. In Rochdale, a broken-down vehicle on the M62 westbound at junction 19 has left one lane closed. For Cambridgeshire, a road traffic collision on the A14 eastbound between junctions 33 and 35 has resulted in all lanes being shut. Stay safe on the roads, and for more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GBNews Traffic and Travel Report.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
The royal family is an enduring symbol of tradition, unity and pride for Britain. At GB News, we celebrate what makes this country great. In our new royal newsletter series, you can join me, Cameron Walker, for Inside the Palace, an exclusive look every week that takes you beyond the gates and brings you the very latest from those at the heart of the monarchy. Never miss a royal moment again. Sign up now. Go to gbnews.com/royal newsletter and get the latest straight to your inbox.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Hello there, this is Dewbs and Kurt with me, Michelle Dewberry, with you till 7 o'clock alongside me. You could probably just hear her muttering away in the background. Baroness Jacqueline Foster there, the Tory peer and the former MEP alongside her. Somewhat quieter as we return from the break. Aaron Bastani, the founder of Novara Media. You know what? I'm quite happy today, ladies and gents. You guys are really getting into the swing of it when it comes to St George's Day. So many of you sending to me your pictures about your setup, what you've done to your house, what you've done to yourself, what you've done to your purse boxes. Barbara, I've just seen yours. I'll share it with the nation before the end of the programme. But look, here is Jo, one of our viewers. She's not messing around. She's taking the dress code of St George's Day literally with her red and white. I like it. I took it, the dress code literally today. I've come in my white dress. I've got red. I don't think I can. I was going to try and look at my shoes, but I don't want you to see things that you. Can you see my shoes? I don't want to demonstrate. No, I can't lift my leg up. My dress is. I think you know what. I think that could be a very terrible TV moment. I think it's probably better for everybody's health and safety, not least my own, if I keep my legs under the table, quite frankly. But you'll have to take my word for it. I've got very nice red boots on because I wanted to come dressed somewhat like a flag today. I got into the spirit of it. Keep your pictures coming in. We'll carry that on throughout the programme. But look. When it comes to barefoots, it's not just in this country, by the way, it's globally. There's somewhat different degrees of concern. Nuts and bolts of the issue is that many people say that women are just not having enough children. Donald Trump, he's kind of coming up with different ideas and suggestions as to what they could do about it in the United States. They're exploring giving a $5,000 cash bonus to people, actually, who do try and have more children. Let's listen to a man that knows quite a bit when it comes to having multiple children, Elon Musk.
Well, there's a lot of things, I suppose, that I worry about, but and some of these things will seem esoteric to people. You know, the birth rate is very low in almost every country, and it's something, unless that changes, civilization will disappear. America had the lowest birth rate, I believe, ever. That was last year. Places like Korea, the birth rate is 1/3 replacement rate. So that means in 3 generations, Korea will be 3 or 4% of its current size. And nothing seems to be turning that around. Humanity is dying.
Well, he's certainly doing his bit for humanity continuation, isn't he? I've lost count. I think he's got about 15 kids now, I think. And that's just the ones that we know of. Anyway, young women in England and Wales are projected to have just 1 child by the age of 35. Aaron Bastani, let me start with you on this one. Firstly, are you concerned about the birth rate? And secondly, if so, what do you think we should do about it?
I am concerned. I mean, it wouldn't be as apocalyptic as Elon Musk was just there. Someone like Korea has a fertility rate of 0.8, which is to say the average woman, because of course in a couple, only the woman can have the child, you have a fertility rate of 2.1, the country or the nation stands still. South Korea has 0.8, which is to say after 2 generations you go from 100 people or 50 couples to 16 people. And I think this is really important to think about. You think, one, oh, that's just kind of standing still, right? No, like I say, you've gone from 100 people in the space of 2 generations to 16 people. That's where South Korea is already at. You don't need to, speculate about that. The UK is a little bit better. It's about 1.4, 1.5. Can countries go back to 2.1 or above 2.1? I think that's going to be quite hard. But I think we should be incentivising that birth rate to be higher than it presently is. Can a country get away with 1.9? Probably. 1.8? Yeah, where we were 10, 15 years ago. So I wouldn't be so catastrophist as Elon Musk is there, but it's certainly a problem.
What do you think's caused it?
Many things have caused it. If you look at different countries, you see different outcomes. Broadly speaking, I think technology plays a role, obviously access to contraception, culture plays a role, women entering the labour market. All of that said, you still have countries like I say, Japan, South Korea, Malta in Europe, below 1. And you have other countries like Israel, 3. Even the United States, I think, has a birth rate of around 1.8, 1.9, 1.7. So there's a lot of variation. So I think technology is one part of it, culture's another. But the economics of childhood, childcare, parenting are really, really hard. It is really expensive to have a child. Now, in more religious cultures, there are other incentives beyond financial ones to have kids. It's expected. You might think it's a reason to gain prestige or whatever. Historically, that's just why humans have done it. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but that's just why they did it. Those incentives have disappeared, and so now we just have the disincentives, which are economic. There are huge disincentives to have children. And I think we need to recalibrate that slightly. And of all the people to be starting that conversation, I'm kind of surprised it's Donald Trump, but I'm very happy he's doing it.
Well, in Hungary, I mean, a lot of people are actually grabbing this bull by the horns. In Hungary, what they're looking at there is exempting women from income tax based on how many children they actually have, would depend on how long they get that exemption for. So there's quite creative, interesting policies that are being explored. What do you make of it all, Jacqueline?
I think it's fascinating. I don't think necessarily, giving somebody £5,000 a child is necessarily the answer. It's entirely, obviously, up to Donald Trump what they decide to do. But I don't think that we've actually really celebrated motherhood and families as much as we should have done, I think, particularly over the last 30, 40 years. I think we could have done much more within the tax system when we're looking at women. Often they may want to go back to work after they've had the children. Obviously, we've kicked the glass ceiling, so there are many more women in the workplace. But we've not really, we've sort of disincentivized all of this. I think that we should look again carefully at this, because we've also got issues with children who are really not being brought up as well as they should. And there's a high divorce rate as well, which isn't helpful. And so I think there has to be a better way of thinking about how we do support families. In terms of numbers of children, well, when I was a little girl, and we had Anglicans, obviously, in Liverpool, there were the Protestants and the Catholics continued to have really big families. I wasn't a Roman Catholic, but most of the women did have big families because there was little contraception. But as the time's gone on, what you've seen in the Anglosphere countries, this is where the issue is, and probably in Western Europe, you've seen the birth rate really reduced down. It was an average 2.4 about 30 years ago, and it's gone down. Where you are quite right is, if you look at this country and the number of people who have settled from other parts of the world, then you've got cultural and religious reasons, and so we do have great swathes of the population here with 6 or 7 children. And so in terms of then sort of doling out even more money, you've got to be quite careful. So I think if you're in a civil partnership that's, properly official, if you are married and you have children, I do think that there's got to be a better way forward to try and reward those families in the tax system. We want people to stay together. We know that if children have a solid foundation, that they will do best. We don't want, obviously, a parent to stay in an abusive relationship, and we try and help with the welfare system if that sort of thing happens. But they do it on the continent. They do it very much. They've done it in Belgium, France and other countries, and Hungary, as you say. But a lot of them are Roman Catholic countries as well, so they do really hold the family in much higher esteem. So I think we could do more. And, yeah, I'd be very supportive if they did.
I mean, some of you have got in touch already saying, hold on a minute, Michelle, you've got a situation where people apparently can't afford the kids they've already got, hence that taxpayers are having to pay for primary school kids' breakfast. So why are you trying to incentivise people to have more kids if they can't apparently afford the kids that they've already got?
So this is a really interesting one. So, for instance, breakfast clubs, I think, are very smart idea, because the working day for a lot of adults, if both parents go to work and they have really tough jobs, they might have to be at that workplace at 7:30, some people, if they're commuting, 8 o'clock. The school day and the work day don't tally up. So we need to work out as a society, how are we going to work that out? Some people have childminders, it's very expensive. The childminders get the kids from 8 a.m, they take them home at 6 p.m. Or we say, actually, we'd like maybe hours change, we're more flexible with parents or whatever, but that's not where workplaces are right now. So I think breakfast clubs are a perfectly sensible idea. How you fund it, who pays, that's a separate issue.
Us.
Well, I think it's perfectly sensible.
I have to completely disagree with you.
Can I just please let me finish, Jacqueline? So I think it's a perfectly sensible thing to do to basically encourage parents to get back in the workplace, is to align the school day and the work day. Secondly, I would actually say, where I disagree with Donald Trump, is he's not talking in big enough figures. The one policy I probably would do to engage with this in the UK is, for a second child, you get £20,000. Like you say, if it's a marriage or a civil partnership.
I know,
so
but then
many people out
there. Incentivising a load of absolute wrong-uns to have more and more kids to get their hands on this 20 grand.
Yep, only for one child. And you've already had...
Aaron, we have a section of society, very sadly, where we have young children and they have no idea who their father is.
But we're talking about two separate things.
No, there are... You're talking
we punish... No, let me finish.
We're talking about thousands of people.
We punish middle-class families for having kids.
What we also cannot do, because what the welfare system has done, it has also... It's basically also given rise to people to have more children because there's more child benefit.
But no, middle-class people, they're not having kids.
That is not the majority of people in this country. But you still have to be aware that things like that happen too, where you have a massive abuse... A massive abuse of the welfare system. But if we bring it back to what this is about, in terms of trying to obviously increase the population in a very sensible and pragmatic way, it brings us back, I think, when you're looking at stability in families, when you're looking at how you can reward couples who are together to try and bring the children up, and obviously you're going to have mothers whose, the husband has left or whatever. So it's not about penalising them, but it's about making sure there's a very fair tax system to actually deal with this.
Do you want to come back?
I agree with Donald Trump, and Jacqueline doesn't. There are lots of families out there, they're one and done. They might live in a two-bed flat, and if they get for that second kid, just for the second child, £20,000, it means they can convert a room, maybe they can rent somewhere else, they can buy a bigger flat. I think it's a really sensible policy, and it's not particularly onerous, I think, on the taxpayer. Where I think maybe there's some agreement here is that we massively disincentivise successful couples, middle-class couples, the backbone of the country. We disincentivise those people having kids. That's how the system currently works. I'm saying maybe we can shift that dial a little bit, and immediately we start talking about, well, people want 8 kids and they're going to game the system. I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about the backbone of this country who aren't being helped right now when it comes to childcare.
Some of my viewers are saying, Michelle, please, can you jump in and point out there's no such thing as a free breakfast club. There's only taxpayers-funded breakfast clubs. I can tell you those breakfast clubs and how they are funded really does divide you at home. Let me just return just to a little bit of niceness. I like this. I really do. It's nice, isn't it? St George's Day. Your pictures are flying in. This is Kate. She's got her flag flying in Lincolnshire. It looks like the gate there. And this one, I like this. It's what I referred to earlier on, Barbara. I don't know if you've done this, Barbara, or if you've just captured it. And you also didn't tell me whereabouts you are, but I love it. If you're listening on the radio, it's one of those, those letterbox, the pillar box toppings, the knitted toppings. So you've got St George there with the dragon. Whoever's knitted that, whether it's you, Barbara, or someone else. You're very, very, very talented. I've got to say as well, knitting. That is a skill that feels like it's dying out, isn't it? Can you actually knit? Barbara, do tell me who I can give credit to for that knitting. And look, here's Andy's painting as well. That's very good. Did you paint that yourself, Andy? No. What a talented... Look at Jacqueline, ye of little faith. Did you hear her? Andy, I was asking you, the viewer, whether or not he painted it. She chepped straight in, saying that no, she doesn't actually think you did. If you are the talented artist, do get in touch and we'll tell her. That'll shut her up, won't it? Look, coming up after the break, a new super prison has opened. £400 million it's cost us, ladies and gents. Is it the right approach, though, or not? See you in 2.
Good evening. Here's your GB News weather update from the Met Office. There will still be a few lingering showers for a little while yet, but most places will turn dry overnight, and with some clear skies in the west, it will turn a bit chilly for some. Currently, we have high pressure to the north and to the south, and low pressure both to the east and the west. As a result, we're in something called a col, under which our weather is going to settle down, and so we're seeing most of those showers dying out and clearing away. That being said, there will be quite a bit of cloud overnight across eastern and some southern parts, and this cloud could bring a few spots of rain as well. But under some clearer skies, particularly towards the west, things are going to turn a little chilly. Some prone spots may see a touch of frost, and there could be a few patches of mist and fog developing too. But as we start tomorrow morning then, a fairly cloudy story across many southern areas, perhaps a few glimmers of brightness across Devon and Somerset, and also some parts of Wales. There should be some sunny spells. Decent amount of sunny spells across Northern Ireland, northwest England and central and western Scotland, but the further east you are, the greater chance you have of those cloudy skies, and with that, the greater chance of a few spots of rain, but nothing especially heavy. Now, as we go through the day, through the morning into the afternoon, I am expecting some of this cloud to break up and burn away a little bit, but it is going to linger in a few places, so it is going to stay quite grey for some areas, particularly across central southern England, some eastern parts of Scotland. Elsewhere, a bit of sunshine developing, and if you get this sunshine, well, it's not going to feel too bad. Temperatures peaking in the mid to high teens Celsius. But we have some cloudy, wet and blustery weather pushing in from the west later on, and this is going to affect particularly Northern Ireland as we go through Friday, but also fringing into western Scotland and maybe western parts of England and Wales. Further east, a fine day, plenty of decent sunny weather on offer, and that's the case through this weekend. Towards the northwest, there will be some rain at times, drier towards the southeast and warm too.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, and as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Hello there, I am Michelle Dewberry. This is Dewbs & Co with you till 7 o'clock tonight. Baroness Jacqueline Foster alongside me, as is Aaron Bastani. Now, let's cut to the chase talking about prisons. I do like a little bit of law and order, as regular viewers will know. Well, now, a £400 million super prison opens its door. HMP Millsike, which I keep calling accidentally Milkshake, that has opened in Yorkshire. It's going to house 1,500 criminals. Of course, we've got all this rhetoric, haven't we, about building extra prison places, 14,000 extra prison places apparently by 2031. Let me ask you your thoughts on this, Jacqueline Foster. Do you welcome this?
Well, obviously, this was built under the Conservatives' time because it takes longer than 9 months to plan a prison. Yet, of course, we all know we need far more prison spaces. And so this is the tip of the iceberg. I think my concern is that the cost. I mean, 400 million for this place. If you look inside it, actually, I think we've got some footage of the interior of this prison, and I have to tell you, it's sort of bordering on the Hilton Hotel. And
you wouldn't want to be in there, would you?
I certainly wouldn't want to be in there. But, you know, when we send people to prison and you're there because you've committed a crime, I do find it quite astonishing when you start to read the biog of what's going to be offered in this prison. I think what we've lost sight of is the reason that people do go to prison. What we should also be looking at is the fact that we've got 9,000 foreign prisoners who, in my view, should be actually sent back to where they come from, because this is costing us billions a year to keep them going too, and that would certainly free up spaces. I think we've got to get much tougher on sentencing, and we've got to get much tougher for keeping people in prison, because the early release that's going on for murderers and rapists, you know, and they've served 2 or 3 years or 6 years or something, I just find absolutely astonishing. And at the same time, they're sort of banging up somebody who's written something on Twitter which may not be particularly nice, but certainly isn't a sort of isn't an offence where people should be locked up. So I think they need to start thinking a bit more clearly about this and really understand. We need real deterrence, actually, to keep people out. And those that are in and in for a long time, I think they should be made to work. I think they should be out in the community doing community work.
Get them in Birmingham, picking up those bin bags.
That's just one example.
Why not?
They're sitting in cells for 23 hours a day, or they're doing whatever, or they're stabbing people with knives in the kitchen, or whatever they're doing. I mean, this is just not good enough, frankly.
Bastani?
Yeah, we often talk about not building things in this country. So if something's been built, I mean, that's a positive, isn't it? You're right, it's very expensive. This line really sticks out, which is, I think, a good thing. This includes reinforced barless windows to deter drone activity.
Yeah.
My goodness, that's how people now get access to drugs. Hundreds of CCTV...
Well, that surely doesn't surprise you, though, does it?
No, it doesn't. No, I know. It's good that it's being addressed, though. Hundreds of CCTV cameras and X-ray body scanners to stop and spot and stop contraband entering the prison. I think that's really positive. Some of the videos you see coming out of prisons in this country, Victorian prisons, where you've got the prison wardens, prison guards, you know, smoking and drinking with some of the inmates. I mean, it defies some comedy sketch.
And they're doing a whole lot worse.
Yes.
Which is tea time, ladies and gents, so I won't corrupt your brain cells, but they are doing a whole lot worse than smoking and drinking with some of these inmates. I can tell you that for free.
Some of them had sex.
But presumably...
Yeah, Jacqueline, I was trying to be discreet. Goodness gracious me. I was trying to be discreet because it's tea time.
Need to be realistic about who's actually supposed to be looking after those who are supposed to be locked up.
Yeah, but presumably that kind of activity...
Perfectly good prison officers, by the way.
She's on one today. You've had your Weetabix, haven't you? Go on, anyway, carry on.
Presumably it's harder to do that sort of stuff, given the kit that's inbuilt to this new facility.
Well, one of the things that caught my eye, it wasn't about the drone stuff, it's all about the focus on the green stuff. They make so much of the fact that this is a green prison. It runs on electricity. It's got all this solar stuff, heat pump technology, efficient lighting systems, and so on and so forth. But like you say as well, it has so many different workshops, 24 workshops, great training facilities, and of course it has a focus on rehabilitation and getting people back on the straight and narrow, and it is a Category C prison, in case you are wondering. But look, you know what? Keep your thoughts on this one coming in when it comes to prisons. Can we ever have enough? And would you ever want a prison built at the end of your road? Let me quickly show you just a couple more St George's things. I do like this. We talked about knitting earlier on, didn't we? This is Elizabeth's knitted flag. Let me see it. That's nice, isn't it? Can you actually knit? Can you knit?
No.
Yes.
No.
You can't knit?
We were taught in school.
Where are you taught in school?
Yeah. When we were in the junior school, we had knitting classes, and the boys did woodwork.
Did they? Yeah. I can knit. My mum has taught me how to knit, but I'll tell you what I can't do. I can't cast on. Does that mean anything to you, casting on? Do you know what I'm even talking about?
I did woodwork, as Jacqueline says.
Knit one, pearl one.
Yeah, I can't cast on. Look, I'm trying to track down as well the guy that did the painting that Jacqueline reckons didn't do the painting. I want to know whether or not you were the artist for that. So I do try my very best to read all of the emails over the course of the evening. So do get in touch and tell me if you were the talented artist on there. Loads of people have enjoyed sharing their pictures tonight, and I'm so sorry that I couldn't get all of them on this evening. evening, but it's nice, isn't it? Don't you think it's quite nice just to feel united, to feel like a collective, to feel positive and celebrate our identity for once, rather than sitting there and flogging ourselves because we're this, we're that, we're the other, we're dripping in privilege or whatever it is. So look, whatever you're doing tonight, have a lovely St George's Day. And if you're not doing anything, do you know what? Get into the swing of it. Hopefully we've inspired you a little bit on the programme tonight. But look, that's all we've got time for. Thank you very much to my panel. Whatever you're doing then, have a good one, and I'll see you tomorrow night.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good evening. Here's your GB News weather update from the Met Office. There will still be a few lingering showers for a little while yet, but most places will turn dry overnight, and with some clear skies in the west, it will turn a bit chilly for some. Currently, we have high pressure to the north and to the south, and low pressure both to the east and the west. As a result, we're in something called a col, under which our weather is going to settle down, and so we're seeing most of those showers dying out and clearing away. That being said, there will be quite a bit of cloud overnight across eastern and some southern parts, and this cloud could bring a few spots of rain as well. But under some clearer skies, particularly towards the west, things are going to turn a little chilly. Some prone spots may see a touch of frost, and there could be a few patches of mist and fog developing too. But as we start tomorrow morning then, a fairly cloudy story across many southern areas, perhaps a few glimmers of brightness across Devon and Somerset, and also some parts of Wales. There should be some sunny spells, decent amount of sunny spells across Northern Ireland, northwest England and central and western Scotland, but the further east you are, the greater chance you have of those cloudy skies, and with that the greater chance of a few spots of rain, but nothing especially heavy. Now as we go through the day, through the morning into the afternoon, I am expecting some of this cloud to break up and burn away a little bit, but it is going to linger in a few places, so it is going to stay quite grey for some areas, particularly across central southern England, some eastern parts of Scotland. Elsewhere, a bit of sunshine developing, and if you get this sunshine, well, it's not going to feel too bad. Temperatures peaking in the mid to high teens Celsius. But we have some cloudy, wet and blustery weather pushing in from the west later on, and this is going to affect particularly Northern Ireland as we go through Friday, but also fringing into western Scotland and maybe western parts of England and Wales. Further east, a fine day, plenty of decent sunny weather on offer, and that's the case through this weekend. Towards the northwest there will be some rain at times, drier towards the southeast and warm too.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good evening, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. In Cambridgeshire, a road traffic collision on the A14 eastbound between Junction 33 at Cambridge and Junction 35 at Stoke-cum-Quay has closed all lanes, set to clear by 1:34 tomorrow morning. In North Yorkshire, an accident on the A19 southbound between the junctions with the A172 and the A684 has closed all lanes, expected to resolve by 7:44 this evening. On the A82 at Alcreoch, north of Crianlarich, planned maintenance continues to restrict traffic in both directions. Stay up to date at gbnews.com for more travel news.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Courtesy of Marquis Leisure, you could be driving away with this brand new Elnag Baron 560 motorhome. It comfortably sleeps 4, comes with skyroof, integrated kitchen and bathroom, and is worth over £67,000. And that's not all, as we'll also give you a further